All right, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Moonhawk Studios Presents. I am your host, Mac Paladin, and I have our usual crew of suspects here. Before introductions, we were expecting to have John Broughton, at the very minimum, of Farragut Films to talk about Starship Farragut and Farragut Forward, which is upcoming, but unfortunately he has been stricken with the flu and will not be on the show tonight, so we have another Inside the Studio episode. Without further ado, of course, here are the introductions. Of course, we have in the studios my good friend Adam.
Ballyhoo.
Of course, Kevin is here.
Greetings and salutations.
Petty Fan is in the hizzy.
I'm scared and alone.
I mean, what else is new? The Golix is here.
Yes.
And on musical machinations, of course, we have Arias.
Indeed. Also, Petty Fan, are you sure you're alone?
Unless you're actually my cat.
Well, he's the only member of the cast who still has a
Meow.
landline that brings inside the house. Anywho.
Anyway,
So
Fair enough.
let's just cut to the chase here and get to the news. Adam, what's cooking with you?
Absolutely nothing.
Which is not
Wow.
necessarily a bad thing, right?
yeah.
True enough. So, no, seriously, there's been nothing going on this week.
That's unfortunate.
Not necessarily.
All right, make sure everybody's viewing the show. I only have one viewer. So I know somebody doesn't have it on.
You realize that they're actually incredibly bad at accurately reporting that.
Oh, I know. Let's see. Let's see what the chat says here.
Come on.
I
Users
imagine
in
the chat says moo.
Yeah, I'll be back over there in a minute when I come back inside.
I have the Golix.
I love having a wireless headset.
I have the Golix,
Oh,
Kevin.
Hold on one second.
You're like, hold the fucking phone.
You see,
Choto the fuck up a second
the other-
here.
hang on a second. Hold on just one second.
The idea is to get to at least 3 so that way the algorithm picks us up and starts
Yeah.
distributing us.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Ah, there it is.
I have my other computer off, so I don't have the Fragments of Silicon account sitting in there.
Mhm.
So before we get to the rest of the introductions, of course, over the past week we had a minor breaker blowout that disrupted our Overwatch play on Saturday. And
Oh boy.
yeah, well, we got to keep racking up those 15-minute bans so we can get our 10-year ban.
Right.
Which is really sad because I have a small commentary about this. It's very short. It's just, how is it that Paladins, which is made by High Res Studios, which is a vastly smaller organization than Activision Blizzard, can actually detect the difference between a deliberate quit and a DC? They have the ability to detect the difference because you get an icon when another player disconnects unceremoniously because of some kind of technical failure on their end. But Activision is like, nah, fuck that. If you
They're like, it's all
DC
the same to us.
It's all the same to us, and screw you, and it doesn't matter if you spend $10,000 on your account, we'll ban your ass forever, how dare you fuck up our game. And it's like, aren't you a multi-billion-dollar company? Don't you, have programmers who can suss this out, especially if some, with all due respect, it's like, I'm not slamming High Res Studios. I'm saying they're penny ante by comparison to ActiBliz.
Well, yeah.
And yet they have better detection software. They have a better anti-cheat system.
I don't know.
Also true.
Priorities.
I mean, I've seen, and I talked to somebody about this, is that I don't know why, but most of the time when I see somebody using wall hacks in Overwatch, it's usually someone playing Roadhog.
Oh, yeah, because the chain can go around walls if you do it right.
All right, so let me get these introductions finished here. So we got Kevin here.
Greetings and
Kevin's
salutations. Yeah, I'm here.
having fun. Petty Fan is here.
Hi.
The Galax, and of course Marias. And I think I did all this, but I don't recall it now.
Yeah.
We're doing the news.
We
That's
were
what
on
it is.
news,
Kevin, you're on the
yes.
news.
Yeah.
You're on the news.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. Yeah. Well, basically, the only thing that's different with me is I got my tax return the other night, and oh, by the way, I won't be here next week. I'm going to be going to the ball game.
Woo!
So
That'll be
I
Oh,
guess
yeah,
at least that's a good reason.
yeah, next week I will be taking the week off, and you will not be hearing from me until 2 weeks from tonight. So,
Yeah.
and then again, you won't hear from me up in June because I will be taking some vacation time. But more on that as we get closer.
Right. All right. Petty, what's cooking?
Not much.
Aside from existential dread.
Yeah, I had to replace the power strip for my computer because it's old and, like, if you bumped against it, it would shut everything off. It's like, yeah, no, we're not dealing with this shit. So, yeah, I got that replaced, and then I went full dumbass and accidentally installed Windows 11.
Oh. How
So,
different?
yeah, all my menus and shit are different. It's weird, and I hate it.
It's supposed to be so. Supposedly, they moved a bunch of stuff to the center, like the Apple dock, and it's like as much as Microsoft professed to be completely different from Apple, it seems like every time they come up with a new iteration of Windows, they want to make it more like Apple.
Well, they butchered the sound settings menu, so now it's even more of a pain in the ass to get the right audio device.
Oh, we'll be talking about sound settings momentarily.
Solidarity, my
Yeah.
friend. Solidarity.
Even Windows 10 bites on sound settings.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, I definitely prefer having my menus and shit off to one side and not in the goddamn middle.
I mean, luckily, Microsoft has given us a boon, and if you look deep inside the menus, you can actually orientate to the left.
Yeah, you got to go to the settings and then to taskbar and then do that. But
It'll be like the feature that turns Windows 8 to make it look more like Windows 7.
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. But yeah.
It's like, hey, that thing you should never have done in the first place. It's like, look, PC users don't like changes, and not everybody is using a goddamn touchscreen. We are not sitting here. We are not sitting here sipping lattes and eating avocado toast on our Windows mobile device. It's first of all, Microsoft, you should know better because your sales reflect that the mobile devices are kind of considering how desperately you've been trying to advertise the Surface for years.
It's funny because can the new Surface even install Windows 11 yet?
I have no idea. I mean, it's a fairly...
Because I remember the hilarious thing was when it came out, the Surface didn't have a TPM chip to fucking install Windows 11.
That is great because they expect you to replace
That is
it every
beautiful.
Yeah, they expect you to spend $1,000 every 2 years. You know, it's like, well, I guess they have the lower end model, but still, it's like, look, I sold Surfaces. I thought they were actually pretty decent mobile devices, a lot better than the Windows mobile phones. That's for damn sure. But as a replacement for a laptop or desktop PC, they're just not there yet.
I mean, laptop maybe for a light user, but if you're anything more than, your kid, then nah.
Well, I mean, as a half and half PC Mac user myself, I have a lot of Apple products. I do have an Android phone, but it's currently deactivated because I don't need 2 phone bills.
Yeah.
But it's like I've got an iPhone, I've got an iPad, I've got a Mac Mini. Okay. And even I do not try to replace my Mac Mini with my iPad. Even if I had an iPad Pro and I had Procreate, it would not be enough to replace Photoshop and iMovie. The desktop version of iMovie is vastly more featured than the mobile version. Let's be clear about that. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I basically use it to play mobile games for Mobile Mayhem
Mhm.
and access social media.
Mhm.
I do not replace it. I do not use it as my replacement streaming video machine.
Mhm.
You know, it's just I suppose I could. There's a lot of projector stuff on the newer iPads and stuff like that that's really cool. But it's just, it's still on a certain level. And I hear a cat barfing behind me.
Oh.
That sound.
It's Doodles. Oh dear Lord.
Yeah, just don't talk about it.
Oh boy.
But because you heard us talking about iPads and mobile devices.
Yeah.
But I mean, just as a total multimedia system replacement, it's just not adequate. Sure, I could run my podcast from it. I could do a number of things with it. And on some levels, I might, because I do still want to do like a solo show because I have that whole Max Mind concept.
Mhm.
And for a while, I was doing it to where I was recording it off the iPad. Like I would sit on my couch in my bedroom / living room.
Your pajamas.
I don't remember if I actually did that or not. I mean, if I did, I
Oh.
didn't show the lounge pants on.
I mean, yeah, the general rule is podcasts pants are optional anyway.
Right. Galax, I haven't forgotten you. It's just that since we don't have a focus this week, we're going to be kind of meandering a little bit. So we'll get there, and I promise we will get there in just a moment.
It's not like I have a whole ton to talk about anyway, so.
No, but still, you do usually say stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there that we haven't forgotten you. But as far as like technology replacement, here in my command center, I use my iPad almost exclusively as a soundboard for this show.
Mhm.
And sometimes I use it on Retro Gaming Emporium because I use this machine for PlayStation 2 games and Game Boy Advance stuff, and then all of my other mobile stuff is on my all-in-one. All my other console emulation stuff is on my all-in-one, and my hope is to be able to use this streaming box to actually capture, like I said, the CDX, so I can play Lunar Silver Star using original hardware, and so on and so forth. So, I just these mobile devices and trying to get people onto touch screens. I don't know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't see myself really getting into the touchscreen thing, even though I do the stylus thing for art. It's just,
I mean, maybe if we get to the holographic interfaces, like in the 25th century world of Star Trek Picard, then maybe I'll.
Okay, so the biggest structural difference with the touchscreen thing is that with a mouse, you always have a cursor visible on screen, and the computer knows where your cursor is, so you can mouse over something effortlessly without clicking on it, and then click on it with a little less extra effort, with negligible extra effort.
Right.
With a touch screen, you have to be in contact with the screen as default for it to be able to read you, and then it requires more extra motion to actually click.
right.
Or
Yeah,
indicate I wish to interact with this instead of just hovering over it.
I'm sure future generations,
And that makes a big difference for some applications.
Yeah, and I'm sure that future generations will be like, how did they ever operate like this? A mouse and keyboard? How quaint,
Unga bunga.
Yeah. But I'm not trying to be like the old man who complains about the clouds in the sky or whatever. Just I mean, I've lived around technology my entire life. That has been my stock and trade, so I'm not afraid of it or anything like that. It's just no matter how much I've used it, there is something unnatural about gesture swiping on a screen. There's just something mildly unnatural about it, and I don't know why. I've just 20 years working with various technology evolutions leading up to where we are today, and just gesture pointing just doesn't do it for me. There used to be a piece of software on my Acer all-in-one behind me here that you could actually make gestures with your hands to the webcam, and it would activate different things on the screen.
Mm.
And I couldn't use that software at all. In fact, once I turned it on, I couldn't turn it back off.
That, and also any Kinect-like browsing thing. Like, A, we're not there in terms of, like, recognition yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And B, do you really want it so that your computer can always tell what you're doing so that you are capable of interacting with it in that way?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Because I know quite a few people who put stickers over their webcams
right.
and
Oh, like I said, you
that
turn
kind
on,
of thing, just because they don't.
yeah, you turn on the gesture software, your camera's always on, so you know if you're sitting there in your underwear, your camera is recording you. Whether anybody's looking at it or not is anybody's guess, but it just
The
it's
world
not
may never know.
yeah, it's just not a good design. That's all. And it's like as a person who spent his entire career in technology and as an app worker, I want to see technology actually succeed. You know, but it's just it's weird seeing it in real time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird seeing this technology develop in real time. You know,
Huh.
and I'm surrounded by so much hardware right now. It's kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Golix, what have you got going on?
Well, my sister came up this past weekend. So on one hand, we had a nice dinner out to celebrate our birthdays. But on the other hand, she was there, so we had a significant amount of housework being done. Involving like disassembling furniture and stuff, because that always happens. I mean, the reason for it here is because we're preparing for my grandmother to move up to live with us at some point soon.
Okay.
Mm.
And Mom kind of wanted to get some of this done anyway, but it always happens when she's here. So a lot of stuff that I had kind of planned on doing ended up not happening. So
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
mixed bag there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it certainly makes a mess. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
They even, I mean, I don't mind. My mom isn't that great at heavy lifting, and I'm not amazing at it either, but I'm better at her. But the problem is that I can't just shut up and just do exactly what she verbally or non-verbally wants me to do.
Right.
I always am trying to offer suggestions to make things better, so that's why she doesn't like doing it with me.
Whether she wants it or not, damn it.
So yeah, it was mostly nice. Don't get to see my sister that often, so.
All right. Marias, what have you got cooking?
All right, so let's go down the list of things. So, all right, on Sunday, of course, was Easter, and I decided to reach out to my dad to wish him a happy Easter, because we haven't really talked since I came out, and like we've literally had 2 conversations since I came out. He was very not on board, so you know I kind of let it go. And well, we started talking, and he kind of started in on his thing, and I was like, my choices are walk away from this conversation and walk away from my dad completely, or kind of put the hammer down on him. So I did.
Pull the Phoenix right. Hold up.
Yeah. So by the end of the conversation, he called me by my name for the first time. So that was kind of a big deal. And then I've had a couple of fun little side experiences. Like I was walking to the store earlier this week, and as this guy passed shoulder to shoulder with me, he's just like, "Hey, good looking." I'm like, "Yay, well, hi." And then I got whistled at today, but I'm not sure from where. And then I did doctors today because I had to do annual checkup and talk about my shoulder. So fortunately, they're gonna put me with an ortho so I can get physical therapy. And they're also going to do a thing where I have some non-narcotic pain meds. So
Okay.
yeah, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So it's some med stuff, yeah, of course, but I'm okay with that. So I get a new sleep med so I can stop taking Benadryl because they don't want me to have Benadryl syndrome. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically long-term usage of Benadryl can cause issues with memory retention. We have been using like Benadryl to sleep at night. But yeah, so moving away from that, the other thing that we talked about was I have Marfan syndrome. So, and that has to do with the connective tissue in the muscles, and it means in some that's part of the reason why I can sort of like bend my arms slightly backwards and have like ridiculous flexibility with my arms and legs.
Yeah, it's not all.
So,
It's
yeah.
not also. It's not all those years that she spent as an Olympic gymnast.
Right. But other than that, apparently for being a 42-year-old trans woman, I am supremely healthy. I'm just in chronic pain.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget about getting rolled twice by a forklift.
No, well, yeah. That's a whole other story. I got
And a car accident.
several car accidents, but yeah, the forklift thing sucks a lot. I worked for a company doing shipping, and what wound up happening was a guy was carrying an 8-foot tall load facing forward on his forklift, and I had one of the powered pallet jacks, and so I tried to honk at him, and he turned into me, trapped me as I jumped back onto my lift, and when he did that, it wound up spinning my leg around backwards. And then when I screamed, because I mean, when your leg is 180, you're going to scream. He looked at me and backed up and spun my leg back around. And it's like, well, okay then.
Every time she tells this story, everything from the belly button down tingles.
Yeah, it's ouchy. And then I had a couple of car accidents. Turns out part of the problem with my shoulder is rooted in a car accident I had in like 2005, where I separated my collarbone from my shoulder. I was like, well, okay then.
I recommend fixing this by not leaving the house.
So, I mean, that was its own little song and dance there. But for the most part, I have normal blood pressure. I have low cholesterol. All my organs are functioning properly. So yay. I mean, I don't know beyond that. It's just like, okay, we're gonna at least try and get me into physical therapy, so maybe I can start working with my shoulder. And the other thing she offered me was something, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it's a form of like physical therapy for people who have vertigo, and I have, as part of my disability, I have vertigo, and being able to actually manage it and help with like resetting the balance center of my head. I was like, that's actually kind of cool. I never thought about that. So, hooray.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And then in non-health related things, Saturday when we do our Overwatch stream, I will be doing Bunny Girl Diva cosplay while we play. So, yay.
Should be interesting. I can only imagine the amazing things some of your previously quiet viewers will have to say.
Right.
They don't always behave on her stream.
See, I wouldn't want to
True.
do that because I'd feel like I'd be pigeonholed into a character.
I mean, I'm planning on cosplaying more than just one. This is the first time, so I'm going to be doing my first cosplay on stream. So.
Oh no, yeah, I get that. It's just like while
Right.
you're wearing the cosplay, it would probably feel weird to play a character that you're not cosplaying as.
I mean, I'm a hog diva main, so I could play with no problems.
As long as you don't get a Mercy costume, we have to be able to fit in the same room.
Fair enough.
The
Yeah.
the mechanical wings or something else.
The main ones I'm looking at right now is like I'm doing Bunny Girl Diva because it was actually cheaper than the full on like catsuit style bodysuit. So there's that. I got like the whole thing: bunny ears, the collar, the cuffs, and the bodysuit for like $40. I was like, okay, that's much cheaper than the other thing. And I got the little face tattoos and all that, so I'll be doing all of that. But one of the other cosplays I would love to do, but it's going to be a little pricier and a little more work to put together, is Ash. Because I really, really would love to cosplay Ash on stream. I think that would be awesome. And then I don't really have a ton of other plans, like maybe something from NGE. Beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
Hmm.
Well, that covers the main crew, so I guess it's my turn. So, while Kira was out doing her thing, I was I had a lunch at Church's Chicken, which is it's been a while since I've been to a Church's, and this one was the most shockingly clean one that I've seen in a long time, which I did not expect from the south side of Tucson.
Hmm.
After that, I was like, well, it looks like I still got some time to kill because we got to the appointment so early that I got done with lunch around 1 o'clock and realized I had at least 35 to 45 more minutes to kill. So I went over to 22nd Street and went down to the Cope sponsored recycling store, and I forget what they changed their name to. It used to be Rise Systems, and now they're something else. And I got there's the Mobile Mayhem machine that sits behind me on the floor has a exposed fan on the front. I got this case from my former coworker Faraz, and he installed a 120 millimeter fan in the front, and then didn't include the fan cover for some reason. And so it's just been exposed for God knows how long. And I was in there and I was looking around, and I found a damn near new Cooler Master fan with a protective screen for only $2. So that was lucky find number one. The other issue I'm having is with the retro gaming machine. My plan was to put in the Voodoo 3 2000, which actually works flawlessly by itself. But my plan was to put in the Voodoo 3 2000 and then get a DVD decoder card so I could play Wing Commander 4 and Wing Commander Prophecy and all that good stuff at using quote-unquote original hardware. And I'm having problems with resolution, and I think it's because I'm using a Y splitter to go. One goes to the capture box, and the other one goes to a 19-inch HP workstation monitor.
Here's your problem. It's not New Year's.
What?
New Year's resolution.
Okay.
Get the fuck out.
And crash.
Notice how subdued my response was there. So I headed, since I still had a few minutes left to kill, I went over to the surplus room at Elliott Electronic Supply, and was digging through their graphics cards because that's where I originally found the Voodoo 3, which, by the way, to get a replacement one would be over $100. That one's not done. It's just now I have to think about something else for that. And I'm thinking about trying to find like a low-profile Pentium 4 or something that I can shove onto the desk just for my 3DFX games. But that's a whole different story. While I was rummaging through the bins, though, in order to make this thing work ideally, I needed two separate graphics cards or a dual-header graphics card. One that has independent resolution control at each port. And so, lo and behold, as I'm digging through the box, I find a pristine condition Matrox G45. And the G45, it's a 16 megabyte card, just like the 3DFX card, but it has twin VGA ports on it. That's why this card was like $400 back in the day, was because people who were doing video editing typically bought Matrox Millennium Series cards, and this one had dual headers in the Windows Millennium, Windows 2000 era. And Millennium Edition was one of the first OSs that Microsoft put out that reliably supported multiple monitors. So I found that, and it was only $5, and I said, yeah, what the hell. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to put in the Hollywood Magic decoder card and see if I get better resolution, because what I'd like to do is, mirror the displays so that I can play the game on the 19-inch monitor and then output it to the capture device so I can stream it. So we'll see if that works better. Hopefully the VGA port on the streaming box is not locked at 640 by 480, otherwise I'm going to be irritated. The only other thing worth noting in today's outing, of course, was that for the streaming box for when we play Overwatch and Paladins and whatever else I've got going on the newer side of things, I got a G432 headset, and I've been eyeballing these for a while, and they came out with a new iteration of it that was only $50. And apparently Target's price for this is pretty damn good, because it normally retails for about $80. Originally it was
There you go.
Yeah. Now originally this was the $250, the $200 side. You're breathing heavy into the stream. Originally this was a sort of replacement for the G35s that I'm wearing right now. And of course I am not decommissioning the G35s. No matter how many times I've had to fix these damn things cosmetically, they have yet to actually fail me. Knocks on wood. I bought them for $18 off of eBay because somebody had to repair. Somebody repaired the cable, and there was a crack in the plastic. So I put it back together with Kira.
Okay, so what?
You're heavy breathing.
Yeah, you're breathing heavily into the mic.
Sorry.
She's playing Overwatch as she does when she's on stream with us. But normally she mutes the microphone.
Right.
She's an intense player.
I was waiting to see if I needed to actually add to the conversation there. Sorry.
Well, when you're in the middle of a match, mute, and then as soon as you need to say something, then jump in. But anyway, but I love this headset. It's 7.1 surround sound, and it's got programmable buttons on it and dials. And the 432 is a simpler version of it. It is analog or USB because it comes with a little box. And we had a misadventure this afternoon trying to figure out why I could hear myself over the microphone. Like, it's not supposed to play through the earpieces. And apparently the new version of it requires the G-Hub because it has a chip in it that works with the G-Hub and cancels side noise. So that's what we spent about an hour working on, wouldn't you say?
Something like that. Because you can generate side noise with the headset through the microphone.
Yeah, and of course
And it's a zero latency thing, yeah.
Yeah, and of course I have this fan behind me because it is Tucson. And I do have a lot of electronic hardware here. So we've been playing around. I've been slowly but surely trying to get this command center exactly the way I want it, so that way each machine does what it's supposed to do. And anytime I make the slightest change to anything, it all goes sideways. But the gaming machine works with the streaming machine. I have a high quality A-Power Xbox One controller for playing Overwatch and Paladins and what other FPSs we happen to play. If we play Fortnite again, then that'll be, as Kira would say, that'll be the day.
I mean, something.
We may give it a shot now. There was some concern that they canceled. What is it? Save the World.
Yeah, now they've got like the zero build mode, which is interesting.
Yeah. But it turns out they didn't cancel Save the World. They just had the website down while they were revamping the game for Season 3. Which was weird. I don't know why they would do that, but I guess they launched a new website for Save the World. But yeah, so, it's like if we play those types of games again, I have that all set up on the Ryzen 5. And it's hooked up to a special streaming machine, which is it's like an HP Elite 8300. So I think I'm going to replace all of that with all of those things out here on Twitch with actual graphics that have the information on it, so that way I don't have to keep typing it in manually and making new boxes when I run out of text space. Yeah. Because, like I said, I'm being in the computer sales and repair industry for 25 years. This is just what I do. I've been collecting stuff forever, and now I'm just trying to figure out how to use it. That's the main thing. Every time I would go to a thrift store, I had a compulsion to buy monitors. $5? Well, that one's at least 1080p. How can they give it away so cheap? It's like, I remember back in '06. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Boop.
Still stings a little bit that the company I worked for the longest is gone now.
Hmm.
Yeah. As much as I pretended to dislike that place, it was I don't know. I don't know if I made lifelong friends there, but I valued the counsel of several of the people that were there with me for all that time, including the owner and the store manager, even though the store manager, to put it very politely, has a tad offbeat sense of humor, Kira. I'll tell you guys some of the things he used to say off stream.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're the kinds of things. You're muted.
I wasn't sure how to respond to that, so it's kind of like,
We get a lot of time to talk about this stuff in the car, and I was talking
Yeah.
nostalgically about this. You know, the week that the store closed, I think we had a different blood test or doctor's appointment or whatever, and so we were driving down to the VA as usual, and I was just like having a moment about this store shutting down. And I was like, remember? It's like, did I ever tell you about the time back in 2007 when James said this?
Mhm.
Good times. Good times. Yeah, stuff I won't get us canceled off the air for saying, for repeating.
Yeah.
I didn't say it, he did. It's like,
Or
yeah,
at the
but
very least, get suspended.
yeah.
I mean, you know.
There's the 7 words you can't say on television and the 3 words you can't
Yeah.
say on Twitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, good times.
Mhm.
All right.
I mean, I'm an e-girl in training, so, you know.
I told her if she goes all the way with it and gets an OnlyFans that she has to set up her place in a room. The central studio cannot be the place for that. It would be like if
No.
it'd be like if I started selling feet pictures of my disgusting feet on OnlyFans.
Oh, you too? I mean, wait, what?
Just it's
I mean,
not the thing you
yeah.
want to walk into the middle of our main living room and see.
Right, and
Yeah.
speaking of selling feet, we were scrubbing through messages yesterday for some work-related stuff and found some hilarious past messages from the last, 4 years.
Oh boy.
And it's funnier now, and with, like, in the beginning, it was like my girlfriend was in Pennsylvania and I was chilling in Tennessee, and we had kind of this work thing we were doing while I was kind of home alone. And one day I was not home, or I was not available. I was not online or anything, and Mac had the money together to pay me for something. And it was an entire bizarre discussion where he started sending me messages. He's like, I could buy your love now. And then he says, well, that's not entirely true, but I can pay for some of your services.
Which there was no part of that actually worked out right.
Mhm.
There was no part of that statement that actually worked out the way it was supposed to.
Mm-mm.
Kevin's judging you for that.
I'm
I
not
mean,
judging anybody.
to be fair,
I mean, I don't have any room to judge. I mean,
You're like,
that was before I came out, so it's like it's got a whole different light now, you
Yeah.
know.
yeah.
It's
Just
like-
look back on it and laugh.
now there's always that little paranoia creeping in. Did he know?
I mean, a lot of my friends have been kind of in that zone.
What was the first thing that both Kelly and I said to you when you came out?
There was this combination commentary of between all my friends. It was either okay and or what took you so long.
Right, and we were kind of a combination of it's like it's about time, and also, yeah, we kind of suspected it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no mystery here. Those of us that are reasonably attuned.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Anyhow.
So what's going on in the entertainment world?
Oh, let's see. Netflix is just having their worst week ever.
It's imploding.
You have to understand something though, and I've been reading the other side of this, and that is that the reason for the loss of subscribers is largely attributable to cutting off Russia.
Yeah,
That's
it's
part
in the
that's,
IGN. It's
yeah,
in the
that's
IGN
part of
article.
it. Yeah, that's
No,
part
Mac,
of it.
it's obvious. It's obviously because of people sharing passwords, which has nothing to do with them like having any ulterior motives to want to try to do anything within their power to stop that.
Yeah, because that's been a thing for a long time. That's not a new thing.
Right.
It's only a thing now because, well, things are falling apart. And yeah, Russia pulling out of Russia may be part of it, but that's not the only reason.
Right.
No.
To get that
Although,
big of a miss. To get
I
that
mean-
big of a miss. I mean, I don't think even it has that big of got that big of a threshold in Russia before they pulled out.
Well,
To the point where they would get that big of a loss
I
to
have
the
to
tune of having its stock drop like 25 to 30%.
well,
Well, let's
Yeah.
think about all the stuff though that because of various mergers and acquisitions and corporate restructuring that Netflix has lost to their competition.
True, but at the
Yeah,
same
that
time, still,
that is one of the main drivers, though.
it is. But
Well, it's a cascade effect because it's not like Netflix didn't know or hasn't known for the longest time that their library was going to be retaken by
pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have everything under the Disney umbrella, which has been systematically taken away from them, and then you also have the entire Paramount library.
That's incorrect. Like,
Oh,
at least I'm like, there are still contracts in place there. Ditto Warner, ditto Universal. Like, who knows how long those all last? But
There's still an existence.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, if I want to watch CBS shows like Blue Bloods, and I already have Paramount Plus because I'm watching Star Trek exclusively over there.
Yeah.
Is it really necessary for me to go to Netflix or ultimately Hulu? And I know that's ironic because I'm watching pretty much like all of CBS's shows on Hulu right now, except for Star Trek.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, there's so much more competition going on here, but I'm not sure if that explains the full picture. I mean, believe me,
I was only suggesting it as part of it.
Well,
yeah,
because here's the big mystery box. The decline has been all across the globe. It's not just, say, America here, where, we have, like, the most streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's like pretty much all territories saw a drop.
Yeah.
Well, since this entire industry is so opaque, though, maybe they're only the first domino to fall. Maybe the other streaming services will take a huge hit, too, in the coming weeks.
Oh, no.
Let me. Sorry. You first, then I will add to this.
Okay. Well, that is one of the things. It's like, it's not just that Netflix got hit by this. Remember, Disney Plus reported not a loss, but they reported their soft numbers not too long ago either.
But it wasn't a miss that was holy crap. Oh my God, they're running around with chicken with the head cut off kind of thing. It's just like,
I mean, yeah.
Okay,
no,
well,
it was a difference.
I think people miss why Netflix is in panic mode. It's not just because their stock price has been dropping. That's the fallout from what they announced. You got to understand, they were coming into the earnings announcement expecting to add 2.5 million accounts, which was already.
And instead they lost 200,000, and then are projecting another 2 million losses.
This is an incredible reversal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, from what I heard
No,
on NPR,
like literally the
in
the polar opposite.
Yeah.
from what I heard in NPR on the last meeting or whatever, some of the investors were talking about changing like how they evaluate
Yeah.
some of this stuff.
All
I
right.
mean, like some of the Megabytes, I'm
So
going to
it
tie
was
two thoughts together.
primed to.
Sorry.
Wait, we're overlapping
Sorry.
here.
All right.
So it was so according to that analysis, it was already kind of primed to not do as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Varias.
Okay, so there's two things, and I've talked about this to several people before about how the internet ruins everything. Because when we just had Netflix, it was basically they were optioning as much content that they could license as possible, and it was one hub where we could go for everything.
Yeah.
Especially once they went to streaming as opposed to just the mail DVD service.
Mhm.
And then we got Hulu, then we get and more, and because you have all these unique companies that are pulling all their own stuff because they don't want to license it out to other streaming services. That's our money. Suddenly we're back to the days of cable, where it's like, well, we need this channel, this channel, this channel, this channel, and it's like, so there's that. But then, like Mac and I were talking about earlier, it's like no one gives a shit about the Nielsen's anymore. It's like there's that method of gauging viewership is almost completely obsolete now.
Yeah, the paradigm shift has been significant. I mean, it's like every article I've been reading in the last few weeks has been all about, okay, they took a hit in the live numbers, but it's really the DVR plus 7 that we're looking at now.
That's a new phenomenon, though.
My dad
Right.
actually got an invitation to join
That's-
Nielsen for radio.
Yes, our house actually has received how many
5?
invitations to join the Nielsen? Yeah, it's like no.
For
No, thank
radio.
you.
Wow.
Well, no, ours wasn't for radio. Ours was for television. But
Hmm.
it's like, okay, sure, no.
I've always thought it would be a cool thing, but I don't listen to it enough. So,
Yeah.
and also,
And neither do I.
I don't. Yeah.
Only when I'm
Yeah.
by myself in the car, and how often is that anymore?
Yeah.
So it's like I think a couple of the things that are keeping services like Disney Plus excited is kind of their release schedule of some very major tentpole items. Of course, we have Moon Knight going on right now. We have Obi-Wan coming up in 2 weeks. We've got a steady release schedule of new content coming out for them. And of course, Paramount is really chugging along heavy with the Star Trek franchise. So, I mean, it's giving them an artificial boost for the moment. So we don't, and of course, Disney is now very heavily promoting new Hulu content, not the least of which is the June 2nd release of season 3 of The Orville at long last after 3 years.
Yeah.
Well,
by contrast, Netflix has become known as a lot of pump and dump, and this is getting back to what I was saying before. This was Netflix's plan to compensate for the loss of external titles. It is just pumping out show after show after show after show.
Original content, show after show, movie after movie.
And you'll notice. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
But this has led to a lot of disengagement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whereas with Marvel and Star Wars, and conversely Star Trek and stuff like that, you have a kind of razor focus thing. Yeah, they have a number of shows, but they're only releasing them typically one at a time with only a marginal overlap, and then any other
Weekly.
original. Yeah, and then as opposed to putting out an entire series all at once that people binge watch right away and then turn off the app.
Here's the
Well, one of the
that's
other things that's become a lot more apparent in recent years with Netflix is they're actually getting more and more foreign content that is available in the United States to kind of pad their.
But that's still kind of niche. That's part of the
I
problem.
mean, right? That's what I'm
Korean,
getting at,
Korean drama, K-dramas and stuff like that are definitely talked about. They're the new anime, so to speak. But
although to be more precise, that content is specifically for the markets they're based from, because Netflix is probably like the the only game in town's return of being a global streamer as of this moment. Although that's going to change within the next within the next couple
if
years.
you listen to the voice
Anyway.
acting community, if you listen to the voice acting community the way I do, they're all watching K dramas on the American region of Netflix. They're
Yeah, like
That's
keep in mind,
big.
the biggest show
I'm not saying-
Netflix
I'm not
has
saying- I'm
produced
not
today
saying that-
is
Whoop.
a K drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not watched here. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
What I'm
but it's
saying
still
is that
kinda
they're
niche. It's-
mostly-
Yeah.
right. They're niche outside of the home markets, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You know,
Like,
a lot of people
they
are
come
liking them,
after-
but it's
Right.
not enough. It's not enough to. It's not enough to bring in 2.5 million new subscribers.
Right. It's not necessarily for. It's not. These shows aren't necessarily for the American market. They're for the Korean market or the Japanese market or the European market, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and
Right.
they it seems like they may already be at saturation point, so they're not going to gain any new
Yeah,
ground there.
Exactly.
And there are those words that have been missing from so much of the conversation, especially on social media, where everyone has some sort of grievance to air against Netflix, but this here is like the big one, saturation point.
Mhm.
It's like there are just not that many people left for Netflix to get.
Yeah.
Because I think
They've already got them.
I think people have forgotten or forget. Like people are calling this the death knell of Netflix, and I'm like, no.
The internet needs to stop being so damn dramatic.
Well, I mean, it's.
Yeah, it really does.
Hyperbole has been the letter of the day, especially like on Twitter. It's like, no, this drop isn't because JoJo Fridays was ruined for you. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
JoJo Fridays.
You know, a couple months ago, I finally started watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So when I finally get caught up with you guys, I'll let you know.
yeah. Anyway,
Well, the thing about JoJo's is that it's kind of episodic, not by episode, but by arc.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I just don't have the time to binge watch a show like that properly.
yeah.
You also don't have to do them in order. I mean, you'll get more out of it if you do, but not like that much.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or I could just, read the Tankobon collections.
Or
I
you
mean,
could just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still
You'll be missing many, many, many episodes of Walk Like an Egyptian and Roundabout by Yes.
Right.
But I mean, that's the only reason to even watch the show, right? The opening and ending credits.
They are quite good, actually. Like,
Yeah.
unironically.
Anyway, as I was saying, they have overall 244 million account. Like,
Yeah.
The key for them isn't just to grow, although that's not becoming a thing. The other key is to keep them.
yeah.
That's
I
the
mean,
bigger thing here.
And not have them decide, but I really want to watch a show on Disney Plus and I don't have enough budget for 2 streaming
Or-
things.
or more
Something
specifically,
like that.
Or to just go back
You
to the high
you could do
seas.
like I did and pay $15 a month for the ESPN Disney Plus / Hulu bundle, and then you get
Right.
the best of you get kind of the best of 3 worlds, if you can call it such.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
More specifically to the point here, it's do they want to keep paying the $12 a month for things that you only get to see like once, and then you probably don't touch it for another couple of weeks, couple of months.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
Yeah.
one other point on this, since I bring up Hulu again, is that with Disney becoming a major stakeholder in Hulu, they seem to be positioning it as the everything that's not Disney, Marvel, Star Wars. All their original content is over there, but they're also doing the K-dramas and the anime and the major network shows and all that stuff. So you have this kind of, we'll go back to the word saturation, to where Netflix is no longer issuing a unique product, except for their handful of exclusive things, which have, shall we say, politely variable value.
yeah.
They don't
that's
have
not-
anything that's particularly unique. And then, of course, you've got,
Yeah.
Well-
Sony with Crunchyroll and Funimation and all that stuff, merging together into creating their massive anime conglomerate, trying to seize that market. There's a lot of things in play. There's a lot of balls in the air here, is all I'm saying.
I would say that that's not entirely correct, if only because, like, Netflix is, like, people have been praising the weekly model having a resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
Do not expect Netflix to embrace that.
No.
Because, how do I put this? It's not just a model for Netflix, it's an identity.
Yep.
Right.
It's something that has been
and it's the hill they may die on.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing against that, but what I'm saying is, now Netflix does do weekly stuff in when they license programming from other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally cracked the anime barrier there not too long ago,
Right.
which was a source of contention. But expecting Stranger Things season 5 to do the weekly releases,
Yeah. No.
that's not going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just
Although
because,
I have heard a significant argument,
Yeah.
not that Netflix has listened to or cared, that actually the weekly thing is better at getting people to think about a show for longer, not just during, but also after its actual run.
Yeah.
Whereas because you're so intense with a binge, it's just in and out.
Well, and that's why Hulu and Disney and Paramount and some of these other services are gaining HBO. They're gaining kind of an edge on this, is because they're doing the weekly format. It's like okay, we tried the whole binging thing. We did it for a little while, and but we're going to go back to the more episodic format because this is the replacement for television.
Like, well, yes and no.
I mean, television's not dead yet, but I'm just saying.
Well, no. What I mean is, when people say that the weekly model is coming back into style, yes and no. Yes, for the big event stuff, like with Disney, The Mandalorian or whatever Marvel series that they're releasing, and that does extend to some of their smaller fare, but they also do the binge stuff for stuff that you might not notice.
As a side note, I would say that if Moon Knight was not a weekly affair, it would be way too cathartic for me to get through in a single sitting. There are some aspects of this show that are grating on purpose because of the issues being dealt with. Like I'm giving my spoiler-free review here right now of what I've seen so far, and I gotta say there's some pretty intense scenes that are very disturbing in it because of the content being covered. And all the trade magazines have already discussed it. So, like I said, I'm not going to speak it into life at the moment until everybody's had a chance to see and absorb and digest the series. But I'm glad it's on a weekly model. That's all I'm saying. It would be very hard to watch it all at once.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that kind of thing is not in the conversation currently. Because Netflix has already announced. Well, yeah, it's like, Netflix has already announced what steps that they're going to take to right the ship, so to speak. From the Good Idea campaign, and I know in the minority of this, or at least people that have been shouting on the internet, is the cheaper ad-supported model. If only because I know that there's Netflix is late to the game here.
Yeah.
If I'm being
way late.
I've been enduring it with Hulu since the beginning, and same with CBS All Access, now Paramount Plus. I was like, to get the original content that only they provide, I have to, and to keep the price at a range I can afford with all these services. I'm perfectly okay with the limited ad model.
Right. It's like it might have something to do with the fact that Netflix resisted the idea for years, but now is forced to take this route. But it's like people pretending that ads haven't already infested the streaming model is just disingenuous. It's like, and also, Disney Plus is going to be doing the same thing, probably sooner.
Well, the single subscription, otherwise the internet must be free, model is just not viable. They have to do something, because once again we're talking about these live
Right.
versus DVR plus 7 numbers, that they're always talking about now, and the quantum shift towards the DVR plus 7 dictates that they need to move the ads. They basically need to take the model that has worked for generations on TV,
Yeah.
and integrate it somewhat into the streaming model, because otherwise they have, they're not going to get the ad revenue. They're not,
Well,
which is their bread and butter.
Well,
Right.
yeah. But going into Netflix, it's also because Netflix has so few monetization options when you get down to it.
Right. They don't do microtransactions, for example.
No, that's a weird way of putting things, but
Well, no, because a lot of the services, for example, HBO Max and a couple of other services, when I went to watch the Batman and I wasn't logged in, it tried to get me to buy it individually.
like,
You know,
true, that is a fair
and
point.
and
but
Amazon had that, and Amazon had that pay to play model too.
what I'm saying is, they don't do the licensing that a lot of these other media conglomerates do. Like, there's no Centaur World Happy Meal, to pull out an example. I know that, like, they're trying to change that with some of their really big hits, like Stranger Things comes to mind, or Squid Games. But
Oh man, Squid Games merchandising. That's
like,
there's missing the point, and then there's
You laugh, but
oh no,
you
it's
laugh,
completely
but-
predictable that they would do it if they could, and probably will. Just
yeah.
For everything
It's
else,
still-
there's MasterCard.
I'm like,
Uh,
but you get my point, right? Like,
oh yeah.
they don't have these external deals to make more money, and at least not in large part. And Netflix is looking into the video game sector, but that's very limited right now. Like, they're exploring
Also-
mobile games.
Well,
They
also
bought-
a massively saturated market as well.
No doubt. I mean, they made some purchases of some developers so far. Like,
But I mean,
it's-
they're really last out of the post on this.
yeah, but like I said, the introduction of this new ad tier is just smart business. I'm like, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
disagree with if you want, but I'm like, okay, let's take an example. Pluto TV. They make $1 billion out of advertising, and they're Pluto TV.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
It's still the bread
Money-
and butter of the industry.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because guess what? At the end of the day, you still need to sell shit.
Right.
Yep.
That's never gonna go away.
Advertising money is real money to make.
Well, it's
Yes.
like I said about Star Trek. You can't spend $8 to $12 million an episode and then not run ads and expect everything to be hunky dory.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the subscriptions will take care of it. Especially when you have so many people who are just like, well, I'll get the free trial once the season is all out and binge watch it and then turn it off again.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Well,
And everybody pretty much figured it out quickly. Some took longer than others, but well, pretty much everybody figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like Netflix is doing away with the higher tiers, or you can't go ad free. It's like it's just this is kind of the reality of where Netflix is. It's the best idea I saw that they had. They are looking at slashing the operational budgets, which I honestly do think needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because remember, now Netflix isn't the highest spender on content for their stuff. Like, believe it or not, like Disney, Warner, Paramount, like they're actually spending a lot more. But it's all
Yeah.
relative, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Nobody's spending that much on content than Netflix, and they're just paying.
Their what was it, $8 billion creator fund or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's set to get bigger this year.
Mhm.
And
But they have to offset that now.
yeah, um,
Yeah.
because the investors are seeing, is like that's one of the things that was outlined in the loss of subscribers. It's like Netflix is no longer a growth stop; they've reached maturity.
Yeah, they've reached plateau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's generally the point where you have to really start monetizing, because people want their money back, and they want the more money.
Yep.
And I've seen people argue about infinite growth, but it's like it's not really that.
That's what capitalism is.
It's like we said 20 years ago at Best Buy. One of the big problems with Best Buy was that they just thought if they just kept opening new stores and trying to artificially force their way into new markets, that they would just have unlimited growth and unlimited comps for all eternity. And well, even those of us in the trenches knew that wasn't viable.
Yeah, and
you can't open up 1,000 big box stores and then expect it not to suffer from bloat.
Yeah, and now people have been bemoaning the whole quantity over quality approach, and we're going to get that to a certain extent. It's just do not expect prestige Netflix to return. The Netflix that's the one that would give BoJack Horseman 6 seasons or whatever. I don't think those salad days are gone. More on that later, because there's non-business, there's non-fiduciary stuff to get through here that just broke a few hours ago.
Yeah.
But cutting back on the ridiculously bloated content budget is probably going to be a good thing, and probably focus Netflix to actually market some shit.
But Adam, they canceled the Bone adaptation, which is probably okay because it probably wouldn't have been amazing anyway, and Bone deserves an amazing adaptation. But
we'll get into it. And then there's the just bad fucking idea that everyone but Netflix executives and investors seem to think is a good idea. And that is cracking down on the password sharing.
Mm-hmm.
This, I do not think Netflix understands how alienating this really will be to normal people.
Yep.
Especially since they've not only, they framed it as they've been aware of it for a while. Motherfucker, they promoted it.
Yep.
They
did.
It's like how many different profiles do I have on my Netflix account?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like profile. Having multiple profiles on the account. I mean, it's a hallmark of Hulu. It's a hallmark of Paramount Plus. It's a hallmark of Disney that you have multiple logins. I don't understand that. It's like, okay, well then I'll just create my own profile on there. What's the big deal?
It's the piracy fallacy, just in a new form.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, I canceled a few people off my friends list for trying to engage me on that one. I was like, yeah, them not paying shit wages to Japanese animators has nothing to do with piracy. That's the most ludicrous argument I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. It's like, all of those non-paying relatives of our customers are thieves. And
it's like, well, they wouldn't buy your product anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they had no other choice, they would just do without.
It's like, keep in mind, they fostered this for years. and now they're going to try and do a complete 180. Not now. They've said it's going to be in about a year. Like, keep in mind, all these things are long term because, um, these are things that's just you can't do on a dime. Like, and it's like this is probably gonna cause even more people to cancel.
Yeah.
I think another thing they have to take into consideration is that they have been using contracts with various cable providers and satellite providers and phone providers to bundle Netflix with so much stuff. I pay for a Netflix account, but technically I shouldn't because I get a free one with Cox Cable. But the reason I don't do that though is because I've been using that Netflix account for years. But it's like, okay, well, if I cancel my cable box and go down to internet only, I'm going to lose that free Netflix account, and they're going to lose another subscriber. Artificially inflated numbers because of all these accounts people aren't actually using, but they're getting kickbacks for regardless.
And it all comes back to Netflix is not the only game in town.
Right.
Hasn't been for a while. But, it's like, if they alienate people because they support Dave Chappelle, for example, people can just up and cancel.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a silent boycott because I know a lot of people are talking about it, but even more people who have quit are doing it for reasons such as that.
Right.
Yeah.
They just don't want to make a big deal about it. It's the whole kind of forget about it kind of principle.
It's like it's on the margins. I mean, and if you do something that causes a big exodus, like cracking down on password sharing and making things hard for the actual consumer and stuff like that, it adds up. And again, like I said earlier, it's like we're now at the point where Netflix has to keep what they have on top of trying to get at least somewhat more. And if they keep losing people by the millions, eventually that's going to add up over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Netflix isn't going to die tomorrow, but through a combination of factors, eventually over time, it could get very, very dark clouds over Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Like long term, I'm not talking like short. I'm talking like 5-10 years down the road. Like you have the other streaming players pretty much get in their positions. Netflix loses more of their library. They keep doing things that piss off consumers. It's going to add up.
Right.
It'll be like death by 1,000 cuts, essentially.
Oh yeah. And speaking of death by 1,000 cuts, since we can't drop their name without discussing the elephant in the room here. That elephant, of course, being Twitter and Elon Musk.
Yeah, I think we should ignore that.
I don't know. If we should really bother with it at this point because it really feels like Twitter itself doesn't want to touch him, doesn't want to talk to him.
Yeah, they don't want you don't introduce a poison pill provision if you want the investor to take you over. That's really the summation of things.
Well, but there are moves going on both sides here. Musk is looking to create a hostile takeover now. But now, as of today, he supposedly has a tender offer.
Well, and that'll be a nice trick for him since he doesn't have as much money,
Yeah,
he does not have as much liquid capital as he'd like everyone to think he does.
He doesn't have the financing for this.
He'd have to sell Tesla.
He had to sell or at least a good chunk of it.
Yep. Yeah. He'd have to sell a lot of Tesla in order to do it.
He'd have to sell a lot of SpaceX.
Yeah, here's how Wall Street is gauging the whole takeover thing. The Twitter stock went down when it got announced. Like, it's like
it was flat.
It just seems like an awfully big price to pay for being a wet blanket and buying a vanity plate, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
he just wants a place that's extremely popular and already established, where he'll be able to promulgate all of his views, and everybody will have perfect free speech unless they want to say something he doesn't like.
See, the whole thing is a joke, though, because if you saw it, first of all, the share price was nowhere near able to be brought up to. It also had 420 in it. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Uh-huh.
You know, like we said, he doesn't have the financing or the capital for it, and also he's been pretty clear about his views on the SEC, and that's a group and an organization that's going to have to sign off on this.
Yeah, I just think they don't want a mega billionaire buying a free speech platform. The problem here is that, and Jack Dorsey actually put it pretty well, is that Twitter has really taken a spiral down the shitter for various reasons in recent years, and so Musk's grandstanding notwithstanding, they do need to change. They do need to change things up. I mean, you actually have a board of directors who has no actual stock voting powers because they don't own any of the company.
That is kind of weird.
Yeah. It's like they barely own any preferred stock, and yet somehow they're still there. And so it brings up a lot of interesting questions about what the fuck are they doing over at Twitter. So if nothing else, in Elon Musk's bizarro world showmanship ways, he has highlighted an interesting problem that up until now no one wants to talk about.
I honestly,
Whether he's right or not, but it has brought to light not necessarily, maybe in spite of him rather than because of him, but there are problems at Twitter that we, the general public, were not really privy to.
I firmly disagree. This whole thing is about him wanting to basically be an a-hole and allow others to be an a-hole freely without consequence. And it's also a pump and dump.
I know what he's doing, but what I'm saying is the fact that he pulled this stunt inadvertently brought to light other problems at Twitter.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Twitter has been circling around the bull for a while.
Well, maybe that might be the case, but I don't think this does anything on that concept.
No, when somebody offers to buy a company, though, they have to open their books and they have to lay their sins bare to the public.
Although, frankly, with this, I think it'll make it more resistant to anything that needs to happen. Because,
unfortunately, right. But I'm saying it is bringing to light a lot of problems that are there. So,
well, right, but when it comes to social media, at this point in time, at this particular moment in history, doing anything changing social media means technically making social media worse, not better.
Oh, I know.
That's the problem.
But what it's doing is it's casting doubt on the platform.
That may be the case, but unfortunately,
which ultimately hurts its existing stockholders and the whole bastion of free speech angle that they've been trying to play for so long. It's like the right's attempts to discredit the media.
Like, here's the thing: you're not entitled to free speech on Twitter.
No.
But they've spent a lot of time pretending to champion that cause.
I'm like, that's nice and well and good. It's still not reality.
I mean, there's still a terms of service in place. Now, has that terms of service always been lived up to? No.
Yeah,
but at the same time, the changes that the right wants is to have that terms of service put in the shredder and allow people to go absolutely bonkers and go nuts without any consequence, and any consequences that were possible are taken away.
Yeah.
Well, we do have to remember that Elon Musk is a semi-right leaning libertarian. So.
Semi-right? I don't think it's semi-right, my friend.
Hey! I'm trying not to get a slap suit here, okay?
Yeah, well, that's your problem, not mine.
And honestly, if it wasn't a stunt and he didn't want to just automatically have the world's biggest user base, I don't see why the Muskrat doesn't just make his own social media program. If the Screaming Orange Madness can do it like
Yeah, but
twice.
that's not
I'm
working.
sure- I'm
but
sure he could manage.
but like selling steaks and champagne, it's not working out for him.
No,
Oh,
it's
I
not.
know.
And Musk knows that. He's not that dumb.
Although frankly, probably he would be able to pull it off.
This, he keeps
I mean,
talking. He keeps
Tesla.
talking.
I mean, whatever. I mean, I hate the guy so dearly, but the fact of the matter is that NASA is now a subsidiary of SpaceX, and Tesla is somewhat successful.
No, well, whatever move he's trying to make, it's always about the money. I mean, whatever he's trying to do here, whether he's trying to launch his own platform and devaluate Twitter, or cast doubt on the platform and make the stockholders jump ship, or whatever he's trying to do, or rebrand it, there is a scheme in play here,
Yeah,
and that's all I'm
and
getting
dump.
at.
It's pump and dump. He's done this before, many times. And the SEC's been warning him, has been threatening him, and
He had to settle with the SEC because of that stunt in 2018.
yeah, but but the fact of the matter is he's still doing it. And he's still laughing at the SEC and saying you got to do it harder. No matter to me.
It's like, hey, you got to pay for that.
It's like, yeah, I can write this check, but I still get money. There's nothing you can do to stop me. And until he stops, he's going to keep doing this.
Yeah,
and
it's
there's
like,
still going to be, unfortunately, a bunch of people who consider him to be a demigod, and not just on the right.
Because he's so wealthy, he's playing on a different level.
Rich, white, and white. If you're rich and white, you can get away with pretty much anything at this point.
Yeah, but I don't think rich is an adequate enough term for people like him or fucking.
Disgustingly wealthy.
Yeah, Bezos or Bill Gates or anybody else who might try a stunt like this.
It's a technical term.
No, I know.
It's the technical term.
Obscenely wealthy barely describes it.
Yeah. I mean,
whether they have the liquid cash or not is irrelevant. The simple matter is that they can walk into a bank with only 7% of their offer and get the money necessary, or walk into an investment firm or a hedge fund or whatever with only 7%, and then just say, sure, we'll put a marker out for $43 billion.
Look, I think
you're good for it.
The actual terminology that we use for these people are probably not suitable for family audiences.
I'm sorry. You thought this was a family audience?
You thought
I know it's not, but the actual terms
Kevin's being coy.
Yeah, I'm trying to be coy here because you don't know what Twitch can do, even if it's this late program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have to be careful about being critical of Bezos on this platform.
Yeah. No longer. That's why I'm trying to be a little coy here. But
he's still majority stockholder and he's still chairman of the board, so it matters.
Yeah. I mean, if you know.
He's still the boss, even though he's not the boss. He's still the boss.
Right.
Wink.
His shadow still looms large. Anyway, I think we should wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anything special that we should be looking at for over the next week?
Disney.
Well, nothing really.
I mean, but that's a whole other thing we don't have time for.
Well, Picard and Moon Knight, of course, are barreling towards their terminus. May 10th, Strange New Worlds comes out. May 5th, Obi-Wan comes out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I mean, we got a lot of stuff to look forward to in May. So I made it past my taxes with a refund for the first time in I don't know how many years.
I got my first refund this week, so there you go.
Yeah. I'm just glad I didn't have to pay. I didn't really want to come up with $1,500 this week.
Right.
$700 is more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Of course, as we mentioned, well, actually, we were talking about this in the pre-show, I think, but didn't really get a chance to discuss it on the show. Next week, of course, we'll have our old friend Kurt Sasso, a.k.a. Vertigo X of Two Guys Talking Media, on the program. So I'm looking forward to reconnecting and catching up with our old friend. Kurt is one of the people that got me into podcasting in the first place, along with his old partner in crime, Frump. And so his presence on the program always has a special place in my heart because, like I said, without his encouragement, I probably wouldn't have created this show in the first place.
Yeah. How many times have you been on TGT, by the way? Just random question to add to this. How many times have you been on his show?
4?
Yeah, I've been on there 3, so you got me by 1.
I was invited on to be their first guest, but unfortunately there was a scheduling conflict, and I ended up being their 3rd guest. And then I was called, and then we came up with about 40 different names for Starship Moonhawk, including Starslip Moonshank, I think was one of the jokes. We'll have to embarrass Kurt with some regalia with the stories of old.
Right.
So that'll be a pretty good. I think that'll be a pretty good episode. And I am going to attempt to reschedule John Broughton and Michael Bednar for a time when they're both available. I'm going to get one or the other, and then we'll talk about Farragut films. But it was just a bad confluence of events, and I worried that there might have been a rush to try to fill them in with only 3 weeks' notice. So between birthdays and illnesses, a lot of stuff came down that prevented them from being on the program. And I think I'd like to have them both together because both guys are incredibly integral. Michael was responsible for building all of the sets on Starship Farragut. He did the production design, model building, and all that stuff, and is actually currently building a Miranda class USS Farragut for Farragut Forward. So, and he's doing it using the old school techniques that the production crews used to do for for like Star Trek: The Motion Picture and stuff. They're building a 3.5-foot model using a lot of the same techniques and model building guides that they use for building, say, the Reliant model for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and so on and so forth. So he's a really interesting guy to have on the show because John handled a lot of the sort of world building for their corner of the Star Trek universe with his father, John Sr., and Michael did a lot of the technical work and making sure that there was a visual continuity with the original series and such. So I think it would be best if we had them both here to play off of each other. So I think that's what we're going to strive for when we get them actually on the show. All right. Don't forget, tomorrow I will be back here on Twitch with more Final Fantasy IV: The After Years. I'm not sure what people make of that, to be honest with you, because it's different. The nostalgia factor is different for this sequel to the game versus the original game. Galix, of course, has been keeping me straight on the historical perspective, and I appreciate that.
Trying, anyway.
Yeah. And, of course, I'm going to be having my stoned stream on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific after I get my tooth extracted, so that's going to be fun.
Yep. And that'll be it for Twitch this week. Of course, Overwatch on Saturdays will be moving back to Facebook for its 2nd week in a row. And then Sunday, I'm going to try desperately to get our Lunar the Silver Star stream rolling in the evening after our MS Saga stream. And hopefully we won't have the technical problems that we encountered this past week. But that's it for this week on MSP, and we'll see you next time. And thanks for watching, and stay safe out there, kids.